two massive warships, each nearly 137 meters long, bristling with weapons, sonar arrays, and helicopter decks, sailing proudly under the Philippine flag. These are not ordinary patrol vessels. They are Japan's Asagiri-Class destroyers, veterans of the Cold War, built to hunt submarines, defend fleets, and project power across contested seas. Now, reports are emerging that as Japan prepares to decommission some of these destroyers, they may not be scrapped. Instead, they could be transferred to the Philippines. If true, this would mark one of the most dramatic leaps in naval capability our country has ever seen. But is it possible? What would it mean for our modernization program, our sovereignty, and our security in the South China Sea? Stay with me until the end as we break down the history, the strategy, and the potential impact of this game-changing move. Before continuing the discussion, do not forget to subscribe to Pinoy Guard for more in-depth analysis of Philippine defense and South China Sea updates. The Asagiri-Class destroyers were first commissioned into the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, or JMSDF, in the late 1980s. At the time, the Cold War was still at its peak. Japan, working closely with the United States, needed ships capable of anti-submarine warfare to counter the growing submarine fleet of the Soviet Union. 8 ships were built, beginning with JS Asagiri, launched in 1986. Each vessel was designed as a multi-purpose destroyer, optimized for anti-submarine and anti-surface roles. They were equipped with sonar systems, torpedoes, anti-submarine rockets, and a helicopter hangar that could operate one SH-60J Seahawk helicopter. For surface warfare, they carried the American Harpoon missile system, and for air defense, they were armed with the Sea Sparrow missile launcher. These ships represented Japan's determination to create a balanced fleet capable of defending its sea lanes and working alongside the U.S. Navy. Today, nearly 4 decades later, the Asagiri-Class is being retired in phases. Some ships remain in service, but others are being decommissioned to make way for newer classes like the Akazuki and Mogami-class frigates. So why are we talking about the Asagiri-Class in the context of the Philippines? Recent reports suggest that along with the Abukuma-class destroyer escorts, which Japan has already committed to transfer, 2 Asagiri-class destroyers are also set for retirement. Tokyo is reportedly considering transferring them to Southeast Asian partners, and the Philippines is high on that list. One defense insider even hinted that discussions may already be underway. According to some sources, the Philippine Department of National Defense is aware of this possibility, but is still studying the costs and operational implications. If this transfer happens, the Philippines would suddenly leap into a new naval category. The Asagiri-Class is not a mere patrol ship. It is a true destroyer, with greater tonnage, more firepower, and higher endurance than anything currently in the Philippine Navy, except perhaps our modern Jose Rizal-class frigates. Nothing in defense is free. Even if Japan transfers the ships at little to no acquisition cost, the expenses will come from operations, maintenance, and upgrades. An Asagiri-class destroyer carries a crew of about 230. That is almost double the size of the crew needed for our Jose Rizal-class frigates. More sailors mean more salaries, more training, and more logistical support. Then there is maintenance. These ships are nearly 40 years old. They will require regular repairs, dry dock schedules, and imported spare parts. Conservatively, annual maintenance could run into several hundred million pesos per ship. Upgrades are another story. To keep them effective, the Philippines may need to integrate new missile systems, modern sensors, and communications equipment compatible with U.S. and allied systems. Such upgrades could easily cost several billion pesos, perhaps $50 to $100 million per ship. Still, when compared to the price of a brand new destroyer, which could exceed 60 billion pesos, receiving an Asagiri-class transfer is financially attractive. It is a chance to leap ahead without waiting for the long procurement cycles of Horizon 3. This potential transfer aligns with the Philippine Defense Modernization Program, especially Horizon 3, which emphasizes long-range, multi-domain capability. The Philippine Navy has long relied on offshore patrol vessels and frigates. With the Asagiri-class, the Navy would gain not only greater firepower, but also enhanced anti-submarine warfare. Each destroyer can carry a Seahawk helicopter, which greatly expands the Navy's ability to track and engage Chinese submarines in the South China Sea. From a joint force doctrine perspective, these destroyers would integrate well with our Air Force and Coast Guard. Imagine a scenario where Philippine Fa-50 fighter jets coordinate with destroyers at sea, while surveillance aircraft feed targeting data. This layered approach would represent a true joint deterrent capability, something our nation has lacked for decades. Of course, the question is not just about ships. It is about what they mean in the contested waters of the West Philippine Sea. China has steadily militarized artificial islands in the Spratlys, deploying fighter jets, missile systems, and maritime militias. Their Coast Guard and Navy routinely harass Philippine resupply missions to Ayungin Shoal. In this tense environment, the presence of Asagiri-class destroyers would send a powerful message. These ships are large enough to operate in contested waters with credibility. They can escort supply missions, shadow Chinese warships, and even conduct long-range patrols. Would they provoke Beijing? Absolutely. But deterrence is not about avoiding provocation. It is about ensuring the other side respects your ability to defend your interests. For Tokyo, transferring these ships would also serve Japan's strategy. Japan, like the Philippines, depends on open sea lanes through the South China Sea. Supporting Manila strengthens a key partner against Chinese pressure. For the Philippines, sovereignty is at the heart of this issue. Accepting and operating large destroyers would demonstrate that the country is serious about defending its waters. It would elevate the Navy from a coastal patrol force to a regional player. But there are risks. Operating foreign-built ships means continued reliance on external partners for spare parts, weapons, and training. If not carefully managed, this could create vulnerabilities. Regionally, the transfer could shift naval balances. Vietnam and Indonesia are also modernizing, but a Philippine fleet with destroyers, frigates, and missile systems would make Manila a more significant factor in Southeast Asia's maritime equation. So, will the Philippines actually receive the Asagiri-class destroyers? At this point, it remains possible, but not confirmed. The Abukuma-class transfer is already moving forward, and that will be the first test. If the Philippine Navy can successfully absorb and operate the Abukuma, it will build confidence for larger transfers like the Asagiri. If these ships do arrive, they could transform the Philippine Navy overnight. From shallow water patrols to blue water operations. From limited deterrence to credible defense. Yes, the costs are high. Yes, the risks are real. But in the dangerous waters of the South China Sea, the price of weakness is far higher. A transfer of Asagiri-class destroyers would not only strengthen our fleet, it would strengthen our sovereignty, our alliances, and our resolve as a nation facing unprecedented challenges. Final note for viewers. What do you think? Should the Philippines accept these destroyers despite the costs? Or would we be better off focusing on brand new ships instead? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And do not forget to subscribe to Pinoy Guard for more in-depth analysis of Philippine defense and South China Sea updates.